Well, new this morning, we're focusing on the biggest issue the state's unemployment department is dealing with, and that is an outdated system. So today we are talking to our tech expert, Ryan Ozawa. So Ryan, from the outside looking in, we are strictly going to talk tech this morning. So good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
So during Wednesday's briefing, there were talks about using an older system to process unemployment claims, and they called it a DOS system. So you do a little digging, do a little research. We're talking about a system that was popular in the age of like floppy disks, maybe even older.
That's right. I mean, they're using a mainframe, and I think geeks of a certain age have visions of big iron giant machines in basements of offices. And it's a technology that's been around since the 50s, actually. It evolves over time. The interesting thing is they still make them. IBM still makes them. They're still fairly popular in census bureaus and governments and banks because they are good at processing bulk data.
It is still an efficient system and an operating system, reliable, but to an extent. But if you consider this, Hawaii went from filing 700 claims a week to as much as 25,000 in one day in the early stages of the pandemic. Now, for a system decades old, what does the processing capacity look like?
The processing capacity is very strong in terms of the hardware. I think that even my understanding is the state's unemployment system's hardware is fairly current. It's really the software that's the bottleneck in terms of it was built before there was an internet. You have to connect through it through a specific terminal. It's not that you can hook up many computers to it at once. And more importantly, I think what you're seeing at the convention center is the scaling of the human side of this process. And now when we had the lowest unemployment in the country, you could see that the unemployment claims could be handled by maybe 3, 4, 5 people. Now, when you're at hundreds of times that amount, you're going to have to scale that, and you're going to need dozens of people to do it.
Now, the plan was to upgrade that software in the summer, but I mean, it's 2020. Is there even anything to support an outmoded system?
I think it is going to take a specific overhaul, as they call a modernization of the system. The state had to prioritize, I imagine. They did the tax system, which affects all of us. They did the payroll system, which affects all state employees. And it's going to take political will and energy and definitely a lot of money to do it. There's not going to be a way to really upgrade what's in place in the way that people think. I think it's going to have to be a brand new system, which is going to take time.
Now, I know you mentioned that we did at one point have the lowest unemployment rate, but now we have the highest in the nation. So what type of computerized system do bigger states use? Are they going through the same things that we are?
Oh, we're definitely not alone. This is a national problem. The software I mentioned, it's a language called COBOL. People who programmed it are all happily retired now, so it's a challenge. New Jersey had to put out a call for that, and some states are worse off than we are. Florida is a paper-based system even today. At least we can try to get online, try to get on the website to submit that information. I see partnerships in New York, for example, where they had help from Google, which made a front-end system to gather the information faster, even though it probably still had to go into a back-end system like ours. So there are partnerships, there are ways that we can solve this problem, learning from other states.
Hey, Ryan, before we wrap up, I did want to ask this one question. I know you were talking about the convention center, and on the human side, we are trying to boost our resources to catch up to speed. But is there a more contemporary operating system that's comparable to DOS, that's reliable, faster, and a little bit better at processing speed?
Well, that's a very fair question and an interesting question. I think, again, we're talking about the volume of data that's being processed. I think that mainframe might even still be the solution in the future. They would probably need a software more current than COBOL or DOS, and they're going to definitely want to have a system that can be connected to the internet. I mean, that's less secure, but that allows them to have multiple terminals, multiple people connected to it at once, rather than what I think is probably a bottleneck, which is the way to interface or talk to this machine.
Hey, Ryan, I appreciate your time, and I think this offers a different perspective and a different narrative. So you can catch this interview on our website. That's KITV.com.